capitalized on the opportunity that they were presented with. Izzy, I know. It is the rule with all lions, hunt or sleep. That's why I said it wasn't particularly really a profound thing to say, was it? Hi, guys. It was rather silly, in fact. So, proud cat mama. Perhaps you have a cat at home and you've heard that they don't see in color, or perhaps you have dogs as well and you've heard that they only see in black and white. And it's a bit of a fallacy about predators in general, that they can't see color. They do see color. They don't see in black and white, although they do have obviously quite a large, especially at night, their vision will be gray. But during the day they can see certain spectrums, light spectrums. So they see blues, and I think they see yellows as well. They don't see as much color as we see. So they're not primates and birds, and of course I lump us within that category. I'll leave it to you to figure out which one. Primates and birds have a very color-based vision. It's always interesting to think of the way that they must experience the world, and whenever I get answered this question, I always start down this track that doesn't really have an end except for a strange one. And I would love to know, because I don't think we can conceive. Our brains have changed so much, and we've sacrificed so much when compared to other animals to make space for other things that we use our brains for. And we don't hear the way they do, we don't smell the way they do. Our nervous system is really quite different. And it would be very interesting to experience the world through an animal's senses, and I don't just mean eyes, I just mean senses in general. I think if you were to experience it with a human brain, I actually think you'd be really overwhelmed. Imagine all of the sounds that we don't hear, that they constantly block out. The tiniest rustle, the insects walking around them, a bird landing next to them. And of course we hear some of those things, but largely, our senses are not nearly as acute. Of course, speaking of the way that the animals sense things, lions and leopards would be very similar. I don't want to keep you away from Shadow for too much longer. Let's go back and see what she's up to.
Well, she's on the most glorious termite mound in beautiful afternoon light. The clouds have separated, the sun is coming out a bit, and there she goes. Isn't that just spectacular way to see a leopard up on a tall termite mound? Afternoon golden light is probably one of the best ways. Now she's sinking off again. She is heading towards another termite mound, but it gets so dense and so thick in here, it's going to be really very tough to keep up with her, but we are going to try. There's lots of monkey orange as well, so I need to be very careful about the way I do things. There's a steenbok over there. She's not seen it though, unfortunately. She's heading in a different direction, so unfortunately for her there's going to be no steenbok dinner because she's going the wrong way. But I have to be careful with my earpiece in here because this is earpiece danger zone at this stage. It's got lots of monkey orange, which is the perfect recipe for a breakage. So I'm going to have to just watch where I'm driving and pay attention a little bit today. Can't have an... Ooh. Now, I believe that Tayla McCurdy, who is also out and about this afternoon, has found some sign of grey big pachyderms that, well, I don't think are grey anymore after having a little swim.
I
am so sad and so sorry that I did not put my foot down on the pedal quicker. There was a herd of elephants that crossed the river, and we maybe missed it by 15 minutes or so. It must have been an incredible sighting, especially with this light, and this was the last one to cross the river. But there's quite a few of them. There's quite a large herd off into the distance, but that is just absolutely beautiful. And there were little ones, and it would have been so interesting to watch. But I saw some friends of mine bumbling about, and they said that they've actually seen more elephants crossing the river than wildebeest. So perhaps we will get an opportunity. Maybe we need to come and check the rivers now in the afternoons and the sunset safari. What is the time? Let me check. So maybe we need to come through here at about 5:30 and hang around some of the crossing points and see if we get these Ellies crossing, because that could be really, really incredible. It's honestly, especially if it's in a deep area, and it seemed as though it was quite a deep area. I don't think any of the little ones would have stand. It's really amazing to see how the adults help those youngsters across the deep water. So that is going to be our mission for the sunset safaris, is that we're going to try and find and capture an elephant crossing. Don't you think that would be amazing? But off he walks into the sunset and the golden grass. Now there's still a potential lion sighting I can try and get to, but I'm going to have to become Turbo Tayla if I want to get there. So it will take us a little bit of time, because we've still got to go back up towards Serena. We're not far. I can see the Serena hill, but it's quite a big hill in the distance. So we've just got to go around there. Now I need to find a spot to turn around. I'll have to turn around all the way here. Fortunately, the way that this road is built, it's not going to be great to try and navigate through here. So we'll do a big loop around and start heading towards that supposed lion sighting. Hopefully that cat is still around. Tristan is following a cat of his own and its shadow.
Well, we are in horrible stuff though. You can hear poor Rusty is being hit every minute by a tree at the moment. It is thick, it is dense, it is horrible where she's walking, but good for her. Although she keeps walking straight past animals, she's walked past 3 steenbok that I've seen so far, and she just kind of keeps missing them altogether. So I don't know what the story is and why she keeps kind of missing them, but she does, and hopefully she'll kind of spot one eventually and stalk it. But she's now up. Oh, this is going to be nice. Hopefully, let's get round. We might get a little sunset silhouette is what I'm going to go for here. Oh, sorry, Senzo, that's a big stump. But let's try to get Senzo in line there. How's that, Senzo? So there's the sunset silhouette. It's difficult because the sun is still a little bit high at the moment, but still very, very pretty nonetheless. Very cool. So she's up there, she's watching, she's checking, she's looking around for prey animals, and this is typical Shadow. Shadow goes up and down mounds all the time to do this, and isn't that beautiful with the sun in the background, long grass that is just being highlighted slightly by it. And like I say, it's a pity maybe 20 minutes later, because it would be gold behind her instead of that bright sort of sunlight that we've got at the moment. Now, is she going to settle down on top there? I don't know. No, she looks like she's spotted something, so she's going into a different mode. See, she's stalking. She's going on the back of the mountain. So she's seen something from up there. I don't know what it is. I can't spot anything yet. Maybe there's a little steenbok or a duiker or something like that. And it seems as though she's going to come round the back of this mound. So I'm pretty sure she's spotted something. Her demeanor changed altogether. No, she's actually decided she's going to go off in a different way. So she obviously, whatever it was, she wasn't too interested in, and off she goes. Although it does look like it opens up, because yes, we're on a road. Woohoo! And this is where they had the drag mark yesterday for Shadow and the cub. So hopefully she's going to go get the cub. That's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping that's where she's on her way to, is to get a bit of cub time, and that will just be phenomenally good if it is the case, because I'm pretty tired of being hit by a monkey orange at the moment. So I'm hoping that this is going to mean that she's out in the open. James, you say you wonder if the leopards take bets on who can break my earpiece the quickest. Well, yes, it seems like it. It seems like Tingana, Hosanna have got it down to a fine art at this stage. Shadow is certainly trying her level best this afternoon. She's in serious thicket mode and is pushing straight northward. So if we wondered where Shadow walks around and how she's been moving around in Djuma, today's a very good lesson as to pathways that she's taking and routes that she's following in order to go places, because we've crossed over Philemon's cut line now. It's a big road, and that's why there was that short grass, and we're now heading north towards the drainage and going up towards Rebecca's. And we find tracks here normally, and we're a little unsure because this is an area that Shongile does spend time. But it just goes to show that Shadow is pushing in these northern sections, and I'm hoping that she is going to go and find the little cub, and we are going to see her, because like I say, this is an area where the drag mark was yesterday. This is where she lost that carcass, and so maybe she went off hunting, left the cub here, and we're going to see her. If we start to see her vocalizing, chuffing, and making small little sort of cries, then we're going to know that the cub is close by and that's where she's heading. I think that's exactly where we're going, but I might be wrong. I might of course be completely misled. She might just be hunting in this general vicinity, but it would just be really strange if she was going into an area where she was yesterday with the cub, with a kill, and she's now not going to go back to her cub. I would find that quite odd, to be honest. Sorry, Senzo, I know it's thick, but there she is, just behind the tree. See, she's just watching what's going on. Again, using some sort of natural step up, if you want to call it, just to get a bit of height, just to see, just to have a look, just to work out what's happening. So this is how she'll go. She'll kind of move through, up onto something, down, up onto something, down, and that's how she'll go. So this is uncommon for her, and I'm hoping one of these or mounds that she gets up, she's going to start that typical little chuff, which is to call the cub. So that's what I'm hoping we're going to see out of her just now. But she's still sniffing everywhere. Christine, you're asking if it's harder to find leopards during the summer months. Most definitely. It really becomes a lot harder. Water is everywhere, which means that the leopards just kill something and they wander off to a little wallow in the middle of these grassy areas, and they don't actually come out onto the roads. Now in the winter, they come onto the roads quite a lot because they are obviously trying to find water, and they go to dams and bigger water sources. So that's how we are able to find them easily. Also, tracking now is easy in amongst this grass. It's sandy, it's dusty, it's leaves nice telltale tracks, whereas in summer this all hardens up and becomes a lot harder, a lot more grass, really a lot tougher to find leopards in the summer months. So we must enjoy the sightings we're having now, because as soon as that big rain comes, it becomes a lot more difficult for us to be able to find them and spend nearly as much time and as nicely as what we have today. So there we go, she's just sitting perfectly behind the branches. Look at how she's twitching the tail. She's looking good though. I mean, apart from there's a tail twitch, typical of a leopard. Love that tail twitch. But she's looking good, apart from the bit of a limp. Otherwise she's looking healthy. She's looking young and fit, and although she is aging a little bit more, I often always used to think Shadow looked older than Tundi. I don't know why. There was something about her that looked slightly more mature than what Tundi did. Oh, look at the size of those claws. Those are all massive claws. So that's just getting those claws into good condition, get them nice and sharp for if she does have to hunt and to grab things. But she looks good today. I don't know why. She's looking rejuvenated and young and fresh, and that's always great to see. When you see a leopard like this, is a wonderful thing. So right, onward we go now to avoid the millions and myriads of warthog and aardvark burrows and various other holes that are here, as well as the horrible monkey orange we're going to go through. Again, you can see all these small trees are monkey oranges, and monkey oranges have these sharp little spines on them, and they really are horrible things for a car. They pull out brake lines, they pull out cables that are underneath, they scratch the car to all the bare paint It's a horrible, horrible tree to drive through. And of course, well, leopards love it, particularly Shadow. She is one that has always, since I've known her, been a firm fan of a monkey orange thicket. She loves to drag you through this kind of stuff. I don't know if it maybe entertains her in some way, or if there's some sort of reason she likes it, but definitely monkey oranges are a Shadow favorite, that's for sure. Now, there is a big mound here. She is moving there. She's behind the mound at the moment, so I don't know if she will come to the mound. We're going to sit here and just see if she does. But there she is. Just giving us a little eye. Hello. Call your cub. We want to see your little one and see how well it's doing. Come on. Kathy in Ohio, you were saying ears are pretty tattered. What do I think caused that? Well, Kathy, there's a number of things that have caused that. The biggest culprit is ticks. So as ticks feed off the tips of her ears, she scratches and she bites and she tries to get rid of them, and that then causes the ears to degrade. It happens a lot in older cats. And then the other thing is thorns. So as she's walking through it, imagine when she chases an impala and she runs, and as she kind of rolls with that impala, she rolls through a monkey orange thicket, thorn into the ear, rips a little chunk off. So it happens quite regularly with leopard. They do lose little bits of their ears all the time with that. And then also fighting. Remember, she's fought with hyenas, she's fought with male leopard. When mating, she's fought with female leopards, and so those all will lead to little nicks and cuts and scrapes and little kind of tears out of the ear. Now I'm going to just stay right where I am now, because she's literally going to walk straight towards us. She's heading in a direction that is in line with us. There you go, you can see she's coming. Hopefully she's going to turn just a little bit. No, I was hoping the other way, but she's going to cross behind us instead now. Are you? Yes, you are. You're going to go behind us. Still beautiful either way. It's a wonderful sight to see when you can follow a female leopard around. It is very cool. Even male leopards, any leopard in the afternoon sun is a treat, as far as I'm concerned. I just want to wait for her to just go past. Is she past, Sensor? Yeah. Right, so she's past, and now I can just reverse because I don't want to chase her anyway. And you can see with Shadow, a lot of people always say that she's grumpy, she's grumpy, she's not a nice leopard. She has not once even looked at us, growled at us, hissed at us. She is not a grumpy cat. She's a beautiful cat, and she's a cat that is just doesn't like when people push her boundaries. And unfortunately, some people have, and some people have driven too close to her, and unfortunately given her a bit of a hard time, and that's why she can sometimes be a bit hissy. She's also protective of her food and her cubs, and that's why she ends up also growling when people get too close to her. So she's not a grumpy cat. I've never had an issue with Shadow, and I've never had too many problems with her in the past. She just needs her space and needs to be respected, and then she's just fine. I find actually Tundi far more growly than what she was. But look at her, she's just stopping. She's heading straight towards a drainage line, which would be a great place to keep a cub. So I'm hoping that's where we're going to head. Oof, thick in here though, that's for sure. Let's try and change quickly. Back up on the fallen over tree she goes. It's been her modus operandi this afternoon. Sorry, Sensor, I know we can't see much of her from here, but let's just try and get around a bit and get her coming towards us. She will eventually, once we get round to this point here. It's not great because there's a number of trees in the way, but, well, it's at least something. So there she is. You can see she's just watching again from behind the branch. She's looking almost into that sunset. It would be nice if she found a clear fallen over tree to lie on. And there she comes down. Now, Shadow is slowly but surely moving and heading towards this drainage line. Whether or not we're going to be able to follow all that way is anyone's guess. But while we do that, I believe Tayla McCurdy has also got a big cat striding through, well, a little bit more open plains of East Africa.
Yeah. Right, now it doesn't look like much from where we are right now, but it will take us some time to off-road and get into that position. So basically what's going on, I'll just introduce to you the scene. It's basically there's a dead buffalo that is also covered in mud, laying in the grass, and then there, believe it or not, there's 2 male lions, and it seems as though it's the Chelly boys. I saw a relatively youngish male, that's about 3.5 years old or so, and one of them has a collar, and there's just the 2 of them, and we know that there is a collared male, and we have seen them mating with a female before. We've seen them a couple of times now, so they're known as the Chelly boys. But what we will do is when we are off air, we'll go around and reposition. It's just a very long, bumpy way in that won't be very fun to watch. But I don't know if they killed this buffalo. It's hard to say from here. We'll actually need to get closer to do some investigating to see if we can, depending on how much they've eaten as well, see if it's maybe just out of natural causes, or perhaps we can see bite marks around the muzzle and maybe on the throat. You know, we'll have to just have a little look and look for typical signs that you would see when lions would take something down. But I think that's very impressive if they did take that buffalo down all by themselves. Oh, very cool. So this is the lion sighting we were getting to. Oh, so above the clouds at least. You can just hear rumbling. I really hope we don't get rained on because we're very far away from home. They're beautiful. It is lovely. But like I said, in order for us to go any closer, it's going to be some serious off-roading and trying to actually find a spot where we can drive up, because at the moment I don't see a way in here for at least 1 kilometer or so. It's in front of me and behind me. So it's going to be quite tricky to get back into this spot. Right, well, like I said, we're going to try and head around and find a way in here before it gets too dark and too tricky. Tristan is also doing a bit of driving himself, trying to relocate Shadow.
Well, bit is a bit of a, I think, an understatement, Tayla McCurdy. It has been chaotic, to say the least. It's been hectic going through here. Now she seems to have stopped in the drainage, so I need to try and find a way to get to where kind of she is at the moment. I don't know if she's on the other side or what's happening, but let's try and see if she stopped. So there she is. She's on the other side of this drainage, just still walking parallel with us. So I'm going to try and get into a position where I can actually see her and get a nice view of her. Careful, Senzo. Some thorn trees coming up, a few flaky bark acacias in this area that we've got to be a bit careful of. And what about somewhere over here? This should work nicely for you, Senzo. Here we go. How's that? That's quite nice. I think we're in a good position now, which is fantastic. She seems to be, though, still pushing quite hard and moving quite quickly, so I don't know if she is going to the cub. Maybe she's just on the hunt, but it would just make sense that this is the tracks for her and her cub yesterday were in this area. She lost a carcass in this area, and that's why I thought maybe she'll call the cub, but she seems to be on a complete hunting mission. She's stopping, she's scanning, she's up, looking, down, up all the time. So it's interesting behavior that she's displaying at the moment. And you can see why she's hard to find. I mean, in the entire time we've been with her this afternoon, we've crossed one road, and it was for about half a second, and off she went. And she didn't even walk along the road. She literally just went straight across it and off onto the other side. So tracking her, if you're driving along, you've got to be sure that you're going to see her tracks crossing the road, which isn't easy. And so it's tough. It's not an easy thing at all to find her. No, don't go back that way now. Really, Shadow? So it seems as though she's now going to change direction and head back southwards again by the looks of things. I'm going to try and get round. Actually, her tatty ears, no, I don't think it will affect her hearing. I think it is a situation where she'll be okay for as long as she's got the main kind of part of the ear, she'll still be fine. But the tattiness is not going to affect her hearing in any way whatsoever. Obviously, bigger ears help to trap sound, but it doesn't mean that it's going to affect, and it's not going to mean that she won't be able to hear. She certainly will. It's just that at the end of the day, they just don't look as good as some of the other ears out here, of particularly individuals that are younger, like Tumba and the likes. Those ears are obviously going to be a little bit sort of prettier, but other than that, no, it doesn't really affect too much. She is coming up straight towards us, so we're just going to sit tight where we are. Should see her just popping out on the edge of that mound. There we go, there's that beautiful big tail of hers, and she's coming straight towards us. There is another mound just on my other side here, and so hopefully she's going to head up onto that mound. Thank you, Shadow, for coming this way. It was a good decision to stay this side of the world, because she's walked, well, as you can see, right in front of me. So sorry, Senzo, my hat was in the way there, but there she goes. There's the cold front disappearing. Goodbye, cold front, in the background. So hopefully that's the last we see of that for some time. There you can see the edge of the front pushing off and away from us, so that will be a very grateful goodbye to that cold front, because I have not particularly enjoyed it at all. It didn't bring any rain, it was just cold, it was windy and very unpleasant. So I'm quite happy to see that one go. That one can definitely find its way somewhere else and leave us alone. Now what's she spotted now? She almost seems as though she's found something. Pretty sure she's going to go up this mound as well. There we go. So you can see she's able to climb right now. She's not doing too badly. I'm going to try and get myself around onto the other side of her. Again with maybe the sunset, although I think she's a bit high for the sunset, to be honest. She's stalking something that's in the grass here. I don't see anything, but she's almost looking right at us. Look at that. Look at how she's gone into a different mode. What have you seen? I don't see anything, Shadow, and I'm right here. Where she's looking is literally, it must be a meter away from me in front of the car, but I can't see anything. Super interesting. Look at how she's poised. Look at that front leg just slightly lifted. She's focused. Look, she's just putting the paw down slowly, and she's bent in almost like an S shape, staring straight towards where we are. So I have no idea. I can't see anything. Maybe there's a little Franklin. What's that? Did I see something moving there? No, I can't see anything. But she's definitely watching something that is fairly close by. So what it is, I'm not sure. Maybe there's a little steenbok or duiker that's hidden in the grass, and from our angle we can't see it. Remember, she is higher than what I am, and so she could maybe spot something that I can't see, but definitely intent on something. And she's stalking, she's low, she's trying to keep her body down as much as possible and keep her sort of noise level down as well. But look at how beautiful that is with the sun in the background, her up on a big termite mound, and there's a ridiculously good sunset. Unfortunately, we're probably going to miss it because I want to stay on Shadow while she's still stalking like this. What have you seen, Shadow? I'm not going to move at all because whatever it is, I don't want to disturb it, but it seems as though it's right in front of my car, and I honestly cannot see a single thing. Oh, there, I can see it. So look in the grass here, Senzo. So in this grass on my right hand side, just hidden, is what looks like a duiker. So if you follow my finger, Senzo, I'll show you. Just to the left of this tree, at the back there, where my finger is, there is a duiker. Now it's very difficult to see it. There it is. You can see its ears just poking out through. Is it a duiker? I can't see it nicely. Or is it a stump? It looks like something there. No, it's a stump, is it? Yes, it is a stump. Sorry, I thought that was a duiker. I thought I saw some movement there, but it is a stump. Sorry, Senzo, my fault. But it looked like a duiker, and it looked like movement. The grass is just moving a little bit, but that's what I thought she was staring at. It's in the right kind of direction for the way that she's staring. So that's what I thought she was looking at, but obviously not. Oh, it's a scrub hare. Dryden, you're saying, do you think she's ignoring duikers because they too fast for her and she's lame at the moment? No. I think it's just a fact that she's just looking for something that's easier to hunt. There's a scrub hare is what she's actually hunting. I can see it now. It's right here next to the tree. So she is hunting a scrub hare, which is on the other side of this thicket. So where she's going now, towards there is where the scrub hare is. So I don't want to move because the scrub hare might bolt if I move, but the scrub hare is just on my right hand side. Where she's going, she's got to come around now through a tree area, and then the scrub hare was on the other side of that tree. So it's going to be difficult for her to get there, but she is going to go into stalk mode. She's going to go very quietly now, and she's going to have to tiptoe because this rabbit, or scrub hare should I say, not a rabbit, naughty Tristan, is that very aware that something's up. It's alert, its ears are up, it's looking around, and so she's going to have to try and now watch and just move slowly and quietly and sneak her way to a proximity that she can stalk. We saw this with Hosanna the other day, how he edged his way closer, slowly but surely trying to get towards her, and hopefully Shadow's going to be the same. So let's see how she goes, but she's edging her way slowly, slowly, slowly. Look how she's just watching, head is looking. She doesn't need to be as camouflaged with this as something like a duiker or a impala, because at the end of the day the scrub is so low in the grass that the field of vision is very slim because of all the grass moving around it. It relies on its hearing a lot more than something like a duiker or a steenbok or an impala. So she can afford to be upright and quite high up, but as she gets closer you'll find she'll get lower, and that crouch will become more sort of a stalk and more similar to what we saw from Hosanna than what we're seeing now. Unfortunately, she is going to go behind a really thick bush in order to get closer, but look at how she's moving that back foot, gently, slowly, just trying to touch it down, just trying to make as little noise as possible, not to alert the scrub hare to her presence, and she's going to slowly push her way forward and try and get a little closer. The thing about scrub hares is that they do have very good vision, and very good hearing, and their vision's not too bad, particularly as it gets darker. So she's going to just have to be patient and slow and steady, but I'm sure in her lifetime she must have ended a number of different scrub hares' lives, so she'll know the technique, she'll know how to do this and know how to be able to hunt them. So it's going to be interesting just to watch her as she moves around, and I would love to know what her success rate with scrub hares is. I've seen Shadow on at least 9 or 10 different scrub hare kills, so it's obviously something she actively partakes in hunting, and so I would be interested to know just how many she's hunted in her time, and how many, and what her success rate in percentage is between that and maybe something like duiker or steenbok or impala, and maybe that's why she targets them. Maybe she's figured out a much better way of doing things. But you can see, look, she's just behind the bush now. She's gone a lot lower already, and she's slowly but surely creeping her way forward. Unfortunately for us, we're going to have a lot of bush in our way as she goes round it, and I can't move any further than what I am now because that scrub hare might just get a fright and run. That scrub hare at the end of the day, like I said, knows something's up and knows something's going on, so we want to try and give everybody the best possible chance to survive or to be, to hunt, and so we try and not interfere as much as possible. And I know a lot of you are wondering how our vehicles here would affect something like this. Well, in this situation, when we sit still and we don't move, the scrub hare, I can see it's grooming itself. It's not making any movement. It's literally just rubbing its ears and having a little nibble on some grass. So it doesn't know Shadow's there. We're not between the scrub hare and Shadow, and therefore we're not protecting either one of them or hiding the other one. We're just sitting and we're waiting patiently, and we're allowing it to play out. And that's why we won't start the car, because a noise will disrupt both of them and that will run away. So as soon as we see an animal go into stalk mode, we try and keep ourselves as sort of non-obtrusive as possible, or non-intrusive should I say, and we try and kind of keep ourselves still and not move around too much, not try and create too much movement around both animals. We would also, if it was at night, we would make sure no lights were on. We'd try and keep it as sort of natural as possible and leave nature to take care of itself. Obviously that's also why I'm speaking in a much lower tone than maybe I would normally, as I'm trying to keep my voice down. I don't want to have a situation where I'm distracting either party from what they're doing. At the end of the day, it's a battle of survival. One animal is desperate to eat, the other animal is desperate to survive, and so we don't want to give an unfair advantage to either one of those. It's completely unethical to do so. So we're going to try and be as patient as possible. And it means sometimes we don't have the best view of them, as in a case like this, as they're stalking along, and we just have to be patient and wait and just be sort of quiet about what we're doing and allow nature to take its course. So in a situation like this, we're probably perfectly alright. We have a situation where everybody's quiet, everybody's taking it nice and easy, and so we should be just fine in terms of not interfering in any way. But look at the focus. You can see she is completely focused on that scrub hare. She's watching, she's listening, her ears are not moving at all. You can see her ears are focused straight forward as to where she's looking, and the scrub hare is looking away from her at the moment. So the scrub hare's got its back to her, which is what she wants. She needs to be able to move slowly and try and edge closer towards that scrub hare without giving it any sort of visual. And she'll have to get probably maybe another, I would say, she would need to get another 5 or 6 meters in front. So the scrub hare currently is just somewhere in this general vicinity underneath this tall tree in the background. So that's where she wants to kind of head her way to and try and sort of stalk to. So it's going to take a little bit of time, and she'll probably have to close the gap to at least half of what it is now before she would have any real possibility. We saw the other day with Hasana, even at a close proximity that he missed that little scrub hare. So it's difficult for them. Scrub hares are fleet-footed, they're fast animals, and so they've got to get really close and then ambush them with a quick leap up and onto the scrub hare and hope that they then grab it. So I'm pretty sure Shadow knows, though. She's sitting now, so she's conserving energy. She's not in a position where she's holding a crouch pattern where she's going to start getting muscle fatigue. She's sitting down, her bum is down on the ground, and she's just waiting to see which way is going to be better. And I think what she's hoping is that the scrub hare goes into deeper grass. That is a little bit more difficult for her to be spotted, and that's when she'll start moving. At the moment, she's got very little cover between where she is and where the scrub hare is, and that's going to make it difficult for her to get any closer than where she currently is now. But now becomes the waiting game, and leopards are patient animals. I've seen leopards sit, as we know with Mvula, he once sat for almost 24 hours at a warthog hole waiting. So they can be very patient, and they can take a long time to hunt. They tend to be much sort of more patient than any of the other predators that we see. So we know wild dogs, lion, and even cheetah tend to stalk, chase, and move quite quickly, whereas with these guys is that they will play the patience game. They will slowly edge their way. They'll slowly move if they have to until they get in striking distance and are able to then get to what they want. So this could take 5 minutes, it could take 10 minutes, it could take an hour, it could take maybe even 2 hours. It just depends on how Shadow goes about it and how she kind of positions herself and whether or not the scrub hare sees her. At the end of the day, she's going to try and stalk there without it. If the scrub hare does see her, we're going to have a situation that she's not going to be able to probably follow. Senzo, maybe you might see it. No, if you go a little bit up from there, so just to the left of that, there you can just see its backside. There it is, straight in the left of that big trunk. It's there in the background there somewhere. It's more towards the back, Senzo, more towards the back left. Oh, Larimua, you say their patience is incredible. I think Senzo, unfortunately, is at a bad angle to see it, but it's behind that stump, that tree trunk that we can see in that frame. So a little bit to the back left of that is where this scrub hare is sitting. Somewhere there is where it is. I don't know if we can find it in that. There's so many branches in between, but that's where it's sitting. I think unfortunately Senzo is not in a good place for it, but they are incredibly patient animals. I mean, Shadow is, the whole afternoon she's been after things. Also, it's starting to get darker, which means it's starting to get a little bit better for her. The darker it gets, the more she can sneak around without being noticed. It's still quite light. The scrub has got big eyes, like I said, big ears, and it's able then to pick up movement around it. But as it gets darker, it becomes much more into Shadow's favor, and maybe that's why she's just sitting tight, waiting a little bit, hoping that the scrub hare maybe just moves into a little bit more thick area that she can then try and follow without being seen. At the moment, it's difficult for her. Now, the scrub hare is still sitting there. I can still see it. It's just got little pink ears. When, like I say, Senzo, you're going to really battle to find it. You won't be able to see it. It's quite difficult. It's sort of in and under where Senzo was looking, but maybe, I don't know, it might be possible. So somewhere there. It's just too thick, and the problem is for the camera to get focus in all of that is so difficult. But that is exactly where the scrub hare is, in that general vicinity. Maybe just try going a little bit more to the left, Senzo. Behind there. No, you won't be able to see it. cat. Yes, it is true that Shadow was originally named well, okay, so there is two schools of thought here, because she did have the name Tingana. It's not that she was originally named it. What happened was, here in the northern parts of the reserve, so Djuma, Buffalo Torchwood, those guys, and Cheetah Plains, they named her Tingana and Tandi Saseka, and the guys in the western side, so Arethusa, Elephant Plains, Chitwa, Nkoro, those guys named them Tandi and Shadow. And the reason why is because Saseka was the mother of Salahesh, and so the guys said, well, we've already got a Saseka, we can't have another Saseka, and so they called Tandi, and they moved away from Saseka. Shadow was called Tingana for a while, and then what happened was she was changed. It was accepted that her name must change to Shadow because Tingana, the male, arrived, and then we couldn't have two Tinganas, and so that's kind of how it happened. But the guys up north here referred to them as Tingana and Saseka, and the guys into the west and south of us referred to them as Tandi and Shadow, even from the beginning. So it was just a bit of miscommunication, and that's why things kind of changed. But you can see, look how low she is now. She's down, she's sitting, she's crouching and watching what's going on. She's really got herself as low as possible now, and she's kind of going to have to leopard crawl her way, as we saw with Hosanna the other day. So for those of you that missed it, leopards have a little bit of a floating collarbone, which means that they can push their whole body down and just their legs will stay up, and they can then scrape their body along as they kind of crawl their way forward. And that's where leopard crawl comes from. As people, we know the word leopard crawl, and that's where it comes from. And they'll try and kind of keep their body down as low as possible, and then just slink their way, almost slithering, if you want to call it that, towards this scrub hare. But she is as low as she possibly can be. Although she's gone into a bit more of a relaxed position now, she doesn't look as though she's got her paws too far forward, and it does look like her eyes are even closing as well. Shadow, are you falling asleep while watching her scrub hare? Really? No, there we go, she's attentive again. Scrub hair still sitting exactly in the same place. It really hasn't moved at all, so it's still in that exact area. And if the scrub hair moves, she'll be able to pick it up from this distance with her ears. Also, we know she spotted it as soon as she came over that mound. She saw that scrub hair in about 2 seconds. It didn't take her long to spot it, so I'm pretty sure she can still see it. But you might find that she does just take a bit of a rest, and as soon as the scrub hair moves, she then moves as well. See, the scrub hare is feeding now. It's just starting to kind of feed and groom itself, and that's maybe why she's perked herself up a little bit and become a lot more attentive. One real human, you say, wow, what incredible camouflage. Well, it is. I mean, that's zoomed in fully. So if we come back a little bit, keep coming, Senzo, keep coming. There we go. Try spot that. That is really not easy to see at all. Her spotted coat in amongst thicket like that is pretty much invisible. You really don't see much of a leopard in that image at all. I certainly can't on my little monitor. I don't know about you guys at home on your screens, but I don't see very much at all. So their camouflage is absolutely unbelievable, and it's why we often drive past leopards. Like I say, it's common for us to miss them completely, and if their tail isn't up or they're not head up and they're crouching down, you can bet that you can miss a leopard a lot of times. So it's an incredible camouflage, and one that has to be the case, because ultimately, remember, they are ambush predators, and if they don't have camouflage, there's very little chance that they're going to get the food that they need. They don't have the speed that you'll see of something like a cheetah or a lion. Even they're slower than lions or wild dogs, and so they've got to be able to really get close, and to get close you've got to be able to conceal yourself in plain sight. And so that's why a leopard's camouflage is as good as it is, and why they're able to blend the way that they are. But the scrub hare is still just sitting, still taking it easy. It's not really moving around. Senzo, you might be able to see its head bobbing up and down now. It's sat a lot more upright than what it was earlier, so it's possible that Senzo might be able to pick it up just there, Senzo. So it will be somewhere under that kind of... There, it's moving now. It's just moving off to the left, so it's going to be probably more difficult for you to see, because now even I'm battling to see it from where I am. But you can see she's up now. She's moving. look, you see she's now starting to stalk again. The scrub hare moved, so she's moving, and this is how it's going to go. It's just kind of a ping pong game a little bit. She's going to want to position herself, and hopefully that scrub hare is going to walk towards her. So every time the scrub hare moves, she moves. Now see the scrub hare is coming out now, so now you'll be able to see it quite clearly. It's going to come out into a gap here. So there it is, just there. You can see its ears just wobbling around, moving in that direction. There it comes, slowly emerging. And so we'll keep on the scrub hare for now, because as the scrub hare starts to come out, so Shadow will then have a thicket to work with and be able to pounce. Now that scrub hare's got no idea. I mean, it's busy eating. It's got no clue that there's a leopard in sight and a leopard close by, and it's just busy eating its dinner and starting off its nocturnal movements. And that's why they head towards roads, because it's so easy for them to be hunted in places like this. And so that's why the scrub hare will start to head towards roads, with a little chomp on some tree and some foliage, and that's where the scrub hare is. And then Shadow on that side. So Shadow, I think his best bet is to come through here, my girl. You're going the wrong way, but look at how she's watching now. She's trying to see over the grass. Where's this little scrub hare gone? And she's now trying to work her way around and get a little bit closer towards the back. And you see how she's trying to hunt from behind the scrub hare. She's trying to move her way around, get in behind where the back end of the scrub hare is, and slowly but surely move her way forward. Once she gets there, right behind it, then you'll see a big spring, much like you see from a serval in that way. Look at how her paw goes. Look, how amazing is that? You see how she's tentative. She says, nope, that's not the right place. As soon as she meets a little bit of resistance with her paw, she'll stop moving it. She knows if she touches something, that's going to make a noise, and so she'll stop. The scrub hare is still right where it was. It hasn't moved too much. It's a little bit more in the open now and sitting out. So there we go. There's the scrub hare a little bit more out in the open. Better for us. And Judy, you saying, take your time, Shadow. No need to rush. Exactly. There isn't any need to rush. We've still got lots of time. And so I'm pretty sure Shadow can just slowly meander her way closer, work her way closer, and if she can just get into this thicket, maybe that scrub hare will even feed straight towards her, and she'll be able to then hunt it from there. So she's just kind of working out which way she needs to go, and she's a little bit undecided. She keeps kind of putting a foot forward, and then she takes it back again. I think she's trying to see if maybe the scrub hare moves in a different way, that she can then cut it off somewhere and lie and wait for it, and hopefully the scrub hare then comes right towards her. That would be ideal, obviously, for her situation, is if the scrub hare walked right into her direction. You can see she's just watching and seeing and working out which way she's going to go. It's impressive, though, that the patience that they exercise. Still just watching, and the scrub hare is now facing towards her direction and is quite upright, so her movement now will be quite easy to see. So she needs to be patient, and you'll find once the scrub hare turns, like it has now, you might find her moving. So you see, the scrub hare turned and his back is to Shadow now, so she can now start to think about moving. Look at the tail starting to twitch. Don't let your tail give you away. Sometimes it's almost like the tail is too excited for the body, and it gives a leopard away and kind of starts twitching long before it should be twitching, and they get seen. So Shadow, you'll have to control your little tail. And there's the scrub hare. You can see he's feeding quite upright and facing a little bit towards Shadow. That's why she will have stopped again. But it's a fairly good meal for any leopard. Even though it's small, it's still good nutrients. And Kathy, you were saying exactly the same thing. Even though it's small, it's still, our girl needs a good meal. And exactly that's the thing with these animals, is that it might be small, but it's nutrients, and for a smallish leopard like Shadow or Tumba or Hosanna, it definitely is going to fill the gap for at least a day, and it will make them not feel as hungry. So perfect thing to be able to hunt and to be able to try and go after. So for her, it is an easier meal. It's easier to come upon them and to be able to kind of stalk them. It doesn't take nearly as much energy as something like an Impala, so she can afford to hunt these more often, and again, they're more common, so she'll come across them fairly regularly, and it's good nutrients. We saw the other day with Tumba with his, and we've seen her, like I say, with quite a few. Now the scrub hare just bounced, and so she's now looking very intently. I still think her best bet is to come between us in this thicket, through this little thicket, and sit on left side of this tree and hope that the scrub hare starts moving. But the scrub hare has now gone into long grass, so I think Shadow is going to make a move now. I don't think she's going to stay where she is for too much longer. You can see she's still watching. Now I wonder where she's going to go from here. On the edge of your seat stuff. It's amazing just to watch the calculated nature of a leopard and how it sits and watches and plans to execute the way that it's going to move. Ryan, the leopard is not exactly downwind, but the wind is blowing from sort of a northeast to a northwest. So it's coming across from my right to left, so basically the same for the scrub hare, and the leopard is right to left, so the scent theoretically shouldn't blow towards that scrub hare. Hopefully, I mean, obviously it can swirl around a little bit and there can be a bit of movement, but it theoretically should come from right to left and shouldn't interfere in this particular hunt. I've lost the scrub hare completely now. I can't see it anymore. It's drifted into that very long grass patch. Oh, can you see it still, Senzo? Okay, so it's in the long grass patch now, which I can't see, but I think Shadow's best bet is to come back towards us and then snake her way through this thicket and get herself into a position where she can then go towards that long grass, or she could just decide to go that way. Still think her best bet is this way, but anyway, there she goes. She's just going to ghost her way along, and I can promise you, sitting here, that there is not a single sound being made by this leopard. I have not heard her. I have not heard her walking. She is silent, 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 silent. I can hear the scrub hare more than I can hear Shadow, even though Shadow is way bigger than what that scrub hare is. It is absolutely amazing how silent they are when they want to be, and how they just stalk slowly and quietly through these areas. You'd think thick bush like this, if I walk here, I'll make a lot of noise. You'll hear me easily, or anybody that walked here. But her is nothing that you pick up. I've even followed lions through places like this and they make a lot more noise, but leopard, they are silent animals when they move. It's amazing actually to hear how quiet they are. I'm not sure she's going the right way, to be honest. I think she's heading completely the wrong direction, unfortunately, because she's taking herself into a more open patch. I suppose I can't really see what's behind this tree. Maybe she can see a path that I can't, that is far more concealed, but to me, where we are now seems to be a lot better. Or even use the termite mound that we've got on our left hand side, and you stalk along that termite mound towards the scrub hare would seem to me to be a better way of doing things. But then again, I'm not a leopard. I've never hunted a scrub hare, and so I might be completely wrong. She seems as though she's now wandering off a little bit. So, Barbara, the difference between a hare and a rabbit is scrub hares come out at night. So they are animals that spend their time out at night. Longer ears, longer legs, give birth to young that are able to move around straight away, and they give birth to them in basically dusty little hollows under a tree. Whereas a rabbit, diurnal, shorter ears, shorter legs, hops rather than runs, and spends its time in a burrow where it will give birth to young that is not able to move around and is very reliant on its parents. So slightly different in the way that those two animals work. She is moving to a place where we won't be able to see her. I can't see the scrub hare either, so we're going to sit tight and just wait. Rex is moving a little bit just to try and keep view of her, because we don't want her to drift off. Sometimes leopards do this. Sometimes they get to a point where they've watched, they've seen, and they realize, well, there's not really a chance for me to hunt this, and they might then move off out of that area. So we'll just see. I have seen it before where they've stalked for half an hour and then they just decide, no, it's not worth it, and off they go and carry on. So I'm going to just sit here and see if she starts snaking her way back. Rex is going to stay with her exactly. Here she comes. Senzo, look, she's going to come out, and she's moving quickly now and is low to the ground. So she's just behind that thicket, slowly but surely moving down towards the scrub hare now. And it's getting dark and dingy, and the perfect light for her to do so. It's also getting a lot colder now, but there she comes. See her? Look, she's walking a lot faster. There she goes. No, unfortunately for her, that is a miss. Sorry, my girl. You can see how fast that scrub hare is. She tried, though. She tried her very best, and unfortunately she just overcooked it a little bit. If she had just slowed up towards that thicket and sat, she might have been a lot better off. If she had just showed that patience there, we would have had a situation where we might have actually seen her grabbing that scrub bear. But nonetheless, interesting and certainly very riveting to watch. I thoroughly enjoyed every little second of that. I hope all of you did as well. But now we carry on our patrolling mission. It seems as though she's not heading towards a cub, given that she is starting to kind of stalk everything that she can, and so, well, I think we're going to be carried a long way now and carrying on the hunting that she's going to be doing. Now we're going to try and keep up with her as she starts to get moving, but I believe Jamie is still with her lions, and I think they're in a state of far more relaxation, and, well, I think they're just taking it very easy this evening.
Shadow is being very exciting this evening as she goes about searching for her dinner. I wonder how big her cub is now. I can't wait to see screenshots of it when Tristan finds it once again, and I'm sure he will in the course of the next few weeks. We're still with the Angamas, still watching them as they go about their slow evening movements. All 13 cubs are present and accounted for. I did a head count when the rest of them popped out of the lugger that they like to spend their days in. They're all sort of scattered about in a puddle around the drainage line. Now, the amazing thing for our new viewers, for those of you that are new to the safari, it is basically completely dark now. I can't see them at this point with my own eyes, but we've got this amazing low light camera that allows us to view scenes just like this one, and it makes use of absolutely every ounce of available ambient light. I suppose you can't really say ounce of light, but let's go with it. Oh, flop. You're too sweet. Can't believe how big the oldest cubs have got. Little males have got their manes starting to grow, tufts around their cheeks. Too sweet. Of course, what that means is that for the remainder of the sunset safari, we'll stay with them and see whether or not the ladies have any plans. Cheryl, you say you love the brown spots on lions. I do too. And of course, the cubs have far more prominent spots than the adults, and then when they're born and when they're very tiny, they're actually basically spotty little cats, and it's a great way of helping to camouflage them and keep them safe from discovery when they're little. And although those spots fade over time, they never disappear completely. I like the spots too. It's an endearing reminder, especially in the adults, of a time of their lives when they were just tiny little vulnerable creatures. Hey, there's one of the little ones. Hey, you. Even you've got big. Popping out of the thickets. Oh, that's a lot of lions all cuddled together there. Little one wants to be in on the action. Kathy, in Ohio, yes, absolutely. It's as green as it is because of the rain that we've had. So it's essentially, I mean, the herds of wildebeest that came through have acted almost in a way like a fire. They've cleared away the grass, they've cleared away the moribund material, and it is almost like a fire's been through certain parts of this reserve. And that's not because there has been a fire, it's because the wildebeest have gone through. But you know how after a fire, when it rains and a couple of weeks later you get the green shoots, well, actually a couple of days after rain and after a fire, you get the green shoots sticking through. It's just like that. Is it cold? It is cold. It does get cold, particularly around about that sort of 2-3 o'clock in the morning mark, and especially if you're driving. Again, it never gets as cold as it does in Djuma over the winter. I would say it hovers somewhere around about, in the dead of night, somewhere around about 15 or so. 15, 16. It does feel cold after when you're out all night. And when the wind howls, as it is at the moment, it of course drops the temperature by a few degrees. I wouldn't say we're nearly as cold as we would be on a winter's morning in Djuma. I can hear something, but I can't work out what it is. And Chantal tells me it's 20 degrees. I don't think so. I mean, I've never been the bravest person when it comes to cold, but I'm wearing a jersey and a jacket and a scarf at this point, which I felt that would be overkill for 20 degrees, even for me. I would say that thermometer might be a bit confused, would be my guess, if I had to be honest. It definitely feels colder than that. What would you guess the temperature at, Craig? 15? 16? Around there, says Craig. Maybe it's just because we've been sitting still in the wind. Perhaps Chantal's thermometer has got it spot on. I actually don't even know where that thermometer is. The weather station. Come to think of it, I don't know exactly. Such a peaceful evening. It's been very peculiar. It's been a very quiet few nights. And the nights that we've been out driving around, the lions have been silent. Last night was different across the other side of the river. Or sat with the ridge pride, and as these things go, unfortunately they killed a wildebeest. They killed 3 wildebeest just out of our signal range, just went in the wrong direction. Piper pancakes, that's a difficult one, because it depends on what you're observing, and it depends upon the situation that you're in. So Piper pancakes question is about how much time we actually spend driving around versus she's seen something, I'm just trying to see exactly what it is, versus actually spending time observing the wildlife. Sometimes we come down the hill and we sit with the Sausage Tree Pride an hour into our drive, and we sit with them for the next potentially 20 hours. In the past it has happened. Then occasionally we drive for 3 hours to get to a destination that we want to get to. If, for example, I wanted specifically to go and find the cheetah boys, the musketeers, I would probably have to drive for around about 3 hours to get there, possibly even more, around about 3.5, if that was my specific objective for the day. So it really is circumstantial. I'm not sure if I could average it out. Obviously the distances that we travel here in the Mara are considerably more, just because we've got 160,000 hectares of traverse that we cover, distance or ground that we cover. And the roads, there's certain roads that are more difficult than others. She is most definitely on a mission. What have you seen? Because I can't see anything. That's an elephant. You don't want to eat an elephant. Not a big one. Now, unfortunately, the area that we're in is the non-off-roading areas. So there's certain places where we can off-road and certain places that we can't. There's very good reasons for that decision. In terms of the amount of people who come through and visit these parks, it wouldn't... There's certain places that are basically high use and more vulnerable to damage. What have you seen, my girl? Good vantage point. Oh, okay. Well, that was uneventful. A lovely view of the elephant and the lion. And the second lioness on her way to join her. So they're definitely thinking about their meal for the night. And although they're not starving, they do look a little hungry. I saw some zebra up towards the escarpment. Cheryl, yes, there will be somebody permanently in the Mara for our safari live shows for the foreseeable future. Yes, absolutely. I couldn't tell you possibly exactly what the schedule or the rotation is going to be, but there will be members of our camp here. Obviously, one of our goals and one of our objectives will be to find and employ we've already done with Manu, Kenyan staff as well. So it might be that they the people who are up here. But honestly, I mean, I can't give you an exact answer because I don't think we know just yet. But yes, there will always be somebody here in the Mara for Safari Live. Absolutely. Alright, we're going to do a switch now, and Craig is going to go to infrared. Obviously the light is getting a little bit low. There we go. Paula, a lone lion attacking an elephant, highly, highly unlikely. The only situation where that might happen is with an elephant calf, in a situation where perhaps the mother is exhausted from giving birth. Then a lone lion might attack. But really, elephants are far too big and far too strong and far too big of a risk for lions to try and hunt on their own. And elephants know that. And for the most part, even the lions that do specialize in hunting elephants and that do hunt elephants, they only do it when they absolutely have to. During dry season, when other food is particularly scarce. And they'll generally go for young males that are on the outskirts of the herd. And the reason behind that is because the herd is less dedicated to protecting them. To try and go for an elephant calf with the rest of the herd around would be almost the lion equivalent of suicidal. Because the elephants will try and will chase them away, will protect the calves. So no, it's highly unlikely. Proud cat mama? Yes, they do. They actually do, and they play an enormously important role in the lives of their cubs. So, proud cat mama was wondering about whether or not male lions will protect their cubs. Not as hands-on as the females will, if you could say that. The females are always with their cubs. They're the ones that will defend them from hyenas. They will the ones that will fiercely protect them, sometimes at the point of risking their own lives. But the males play an important role as sort of absentee fathers, because when they visit the cubs, they're very tolerant, but they do a really important job of showing off other males. So they keep the territory safe, and essentially that stops a potential territorial takeover, because when a territorial takeover happens, the new males will kill the cubs, and the females will not be able to stop them or protect the cubs if it comes down to that. So they do in their own way. And yes, if they happened to be at a kill and a hyena was going to go for the little cubs, they would get up and chase them away. That, I think, is partly instinct stemming from chase hyena away. All little cubs looking into the drainage line. We're going to leave the little ones and follow the adults. Let's go find out if Shadow's on the move again.
She's not on the move. She's sitting on a mound as low as possible, and right below her, just on the other side, is a little dip, and there is a duiker sitting just on the other side there. It's not far from where she is, so we're all with our lights off and we're in infrared, just watching her as she basically slowly but surely makes her way over the top. And hopefully this duiker will move towards her. One of the duiker already ran away, and so I think maybe, just maybe, she's just keeping low, because just now she had her head up and now her head is down and she's staring into this ditch. So I think the duiker is literally right below her at the moment. So we're just sitting tight and patiently and waiting and hoping that she is going to get moving. You can see the tail is twitching a little bit, so she can spot something for sure, because her head was up and she's gone as flat and as low as she can to reduce that profile. And the light is getting very dark now. It's not easy to see, and it's getting more and more in favor for her. But also, while we were following her and we were kind of moving around with her, there was massive amounts of alarm calls off to our eastern side. So I don't know if maybe the cub is somewhere in that general vicinity, or some sort of thing that's going on, because there's no ways those kudus and impalas could have seen where she was, but they were barking and shouting, and so I think there might be another leopard not too far from where we are. I'm hoping anyway. Of course I might be wrong, and they might have had x-ray vision from where they were and seen her, but I don't think so. Now if you're wondering where we are, we're actually at the old hyena den off Zoe's road. So there's an old hyena den, it's just behind me at the moment, and I just quickly checked it out as well while we were there, just to make sure, and no sign of any young ones on that side of the world. So there's definitely no hyenas that have been utilizing that den any time in the last little bit. Priya, who's 11 years old and a new viewer to Safari Live. Hello Priya, and welcome to the biggest safari vehicle in the world. I hope that you're going to enjoy your time with us, and I hope that you will ask lots and lots and lots of questions as you watch the animals of Africa and you learn about them. Now, you were asking, what is the difference between a cheetah and a leopard, and how do I know that this is a leopard? Well, basically the easiest way to start with, and just because we can see from the back like this, is if you look at its coat, you see that the spots on this leopard look as though the spots have exploded. So there's like a middle section and then exploded little spots on the outside. Now if you had something like a cheetah, the spots would be round like that and solid black. There wouldn't be any light color in the middle of that spot, so it would be solid and lots of little dots, and almost looks like polka dots all over it. Then you would also find that the cheetah is much longer, with a long tail that is flattened towards the end, and the cheetah would stand a lot taller and would have a smaller head with black lines that come past its face, where the leopard doesn't. The leopard has white underneath its eyes and is shorter and stockier and is built for power, whereas the cheetah is built for speed. Now, we're going to try and keep up with her and see where she's gone, if she's gone into this drainage section. She seems to have just disappeared down below here, so I just want to quickly shoot off to my right hand side where I can at least see down into that area. Rex is going to go around the other side so he can keep hold of her from there, and hopefully between the two of us we'll be able to keep where she's gone. I don't see her though. Do you see her, Senzo? So I'm just trying to spot her from here, but she seems as though she must have gone down into this general vicinity, because I can't spot her at all. The guys are going to check around that side, and I'm looking from here. Nothing that I can see. Senzo, let's go a little bit to the left here. It's not an easy place. I can't cross here. It's too steep for me to cross here, so I'll have to go to the left a little bit. I don't know if they've spotted her on that side. Maybe they have. Maybe she's already moving on the other side. I think she is already that side. So let's go round and get onto the other side. Yes, there I can see her. She's moving around on the other side there already. So let's go round. Careful there, Senzo. There's a tree behind us. So we don't want to take Senzo's head off. I ideally like to keep my cameramen with heads. It is more sort of advisable and definitely more useful to have a cameraman with a head on his shoulders. Right. Tanya, you're 7 years old. It's so nice to have the younger generation watching this evening, and you want to know, Tanya, how old are the leopards? Well, Tanya, it depends on which leopard we're talking about. This leopard that we're watching at the moment is almost 11 years old, so it's getting older for a leopard, because the leopards only live normally to about, in the wild, a female leopard anywhere between sort of 14 years and 18 years, sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less, but that's normally how much they live for. This leopard, though, she's 11 years old and hopefully will live a long life still. So there she is, just sitting in the road and is slowly heading towards us, so we're going to just stay with her. Over there she goes. Oh no, she's crossing the road, so we're going to have to go forward. Sorry, Senzo. Nope, there she goes into the bush again. I was hoping she would come down the road, but she's obviously deciding that she wants to go this way. Now if she heads north and starts heading up towards the DRC, Henny already made a comment saying that she should head to the DRC for dinner, because, well, there'll be lots of meat in that area, so that would be quite nice. Now there's going to be a car that's going to go past, unfortunately, and block our view, which is not ideal, so that's why my lights are all off. So Tula Ann, who's 5 years old, you want to know if a leopard likes to play in the daytime or the night time. Well, Tula Ann, generally leopards will like to move around more in the dark, so that's when they like to kind of move around more, is in the dark. Now, this vehicle keeps blocking me where I'm trying to look, so I'm just trying to find another way around into this area that I can see what's going on. There she is in front. So let me just try and get past here. There we go. So they prefer nighttime to Leanne, and the reason why they like nighttime is because they have very good eyesight at night, and that means that they can see like we do during the day. So it's easy for them to see at night, and on top of that, it's much easier for them to hunt at night. So they like to move around in the evening, and they like to go to bed very, very late. Sometimes they only go to bed in the next morning before the sun comes up. So they are all-nighters sometimes, but they like it because it's easier for them to be able to find food and also to stay hidden and not be seen by all the other animals that we see out here that are wanting to spot leopards and try and stay away from leopards. Because remember, leopard is a predator, so it's a meat eater, and it eats lots of meat, and it eats all the other animals out here, like the impalas and the duikers and the steenbok. So those animals like to avoid leopards as much as possible, but at night it's very difficult to see them, and that's why they like to move at night. So there we go, she's just moving straight ahead of us now, which is nice. Just got to avoid all the elephant diggings that are around. And we're going Shadow's typical route now. We're about to hit Zoe's Road and heading towards the Balanites, the big Balanites that is famous because Brent fell out of it. So Brent's Balanites is where we're heading to. She's just stopped now, you can see, in this little thicket, and is just watching around for a bit, which is quite nice to have a sort of moment of peace with Shadow, because she's been up and down all over the show the last little bit, and it's really been quite difficult to follow her and to try and keep up with her. And as I say that, off she goes again. Right, let's try and keep up with her one more time. We'll try and follow her through. It does get ridiculous at some point. Once we cross over Zoe's, if we cross that way, then unfortunately I'm probably going to have to leave her there, because it does get really far too dense for me to even follow her. And we've put Rusty through such a lot this evening already that I don't really want to push it too much further. You can see, look at the wall of trees that are starting to appear, and so it does get really dense once we go over Zoe's Road and start heading westwards towards Impala Plain side. So I'll try and keep up with her as long as I can, but in the night it also gets a lot harder. Now, while I slowly try and follow Shadow through the thickets and along these pathways and into the night, I believe Tayla McCurdy is also following some pathways into the darkness of the Mara.
So we haven't really found much out and about. We're just on a very windy road at the moment, with not much in sight, unfortunately, because we can't have all the luck all the time, and our lions were fat and fast asleep in the long grass. It is very difficult to even try and see them, so as you guessed, we left them and search of trying to find some others, but we haven't had much luck. What eyes are those down there? I don't know if I saw them correctly. Sorry, my earpiece keeps falling out on this bumpy road. Now, there's this massive valley down below camp. Basically, you can't see it, but down in that direction where my spotlight's pointing. And I can't believe I have not heard leopard soaring coming from there. In fact, I have not heard the sound of a leopard for a very long time. It's quite interesting how they don't call here. I wonder why that is. I wonder if it's just because there's so many other predators around there and they keep as quiet as possible. Perhaps it's because their territories are so large, there's no need for them to vocalize regularly, you know, constantly announcing for any other leopards in the area that could be passing through. So yeah, quite interesting. So maybe they just scent marking, although I haven't even smelt that signature popcorn scent, to be honest, while I've been up here. And I've seen, how many times I've seen it? For 3 times since I've been here. But also quite far away, so that might explain it. Just having a look, but again, hard to try and concentrate when you're shining spotlight. Lots of Impala, and and zebra coming to settle up here. I'm just going to turn my spotlight off so I don't disorientate them. I think they're on their way up towards camp. The zebra are very clever coming to live around camp. I reckon they must feel quite safe about there. I have yet to see any lions up on top of the ridge. There's nothing just stopping the lions from going up there. Maybe besides the fact that there's so many humans around. I'm just going to use my spotlight now to shine on the road. Be safe, animals. Oh. Maybe, not maybe, I'm actually almost certain that we'll see them tomorrow morning. We'll see them almost every single day. Cool, we're going to keep heading home. I'm going to send you back across to Tristan, who seems to have had a lot of luck with Shadow.
Well, we're trying to keep up with her, but it's fast becoming an impossible task. So I'm trying my level best to stay with her through this, well, I don't even know what to call it, mess that is bush willows, terminalias, zebra woods and monkey oranges. It's unpleasant to say the least, and so I think as soon as I can find a road, I'm going to try and get to it. We've crossed Zoe's already. I was trying to stay with her just for the last little bit of show, but I honestly think that it's getting to a point now where I'm going to have to call it, because, well, as you can see, look at this. This is not fun at night, and it's much harder at night to see stumps and to see holes and all kinds of things, and I really don't want to damage Rusty at the moment. We have our cars and we've got to keep them in good condition, so she's now going to cross over back south towards Gari Repeater, and so I'm going to leave her here as she goes over the road, because she's now heading basically back the way we came, and I'm not going back through all of that with her again. So we're just going to get one last view of her as she disappears off into the thickets, and she's just straight behind there, and so she's slowly but surely heading in that direction and southwards, like I say, towards the Gari Repeater and past the Torchwood. But once she goes in there, I'm going to leave her be and let her carry on. I think we've followed her enough this afternoon. We've certainly been entertained. She's taken us on hunting the whole afternoon. We've been spoilt. I mean, she tried to dig up warthogs. She's chased duiker. She's chased mongoose, scrub hares. Impalas have shouted at her, so I think she's earned a break from us. And let's let her just slink off into the darkness. But what a treat it's been to follow her as long as we have today. So I just want to see something. It's almost like she spotted something, and I just want to check. Now there is something that I can see just in the distance there. I don't know what it is. So it looks like there might be something up ahead of her, some prey item that she's busy stalking all of a sudden again. I'm trying to see underneath the bush and trying to get some sort of view of what it is, but I can't see nicely. It looks quite low to the ground, so maybe something like a duiker or a steenbok that she's heading towards. Can you still see her? Sensor, yes, you can still see her, but see, she's stopping and ghosting through the grass, kind of keeping quite low again. So there's definitely something in front of her that she's busy stalking. I'm not 100% sure what it is, but look, you see how she's slinking a little bit lower, and I'm not going to disturb her. If I go crunching through here, I'm going to chase whatever that was. I can hear a red-crested Quran calling as well, so I think what I'm going to do is rather just let Shadow go off on her own little mission into the darkness, and I'm going to leave her there, and hopefully I'll come back here tomorrow and there will be some sort of sign of her with a kill. That would be the ideal situation, but whether or not that's going to happen, of course, well, it'll all be up to Shadow. We've left her to do her thing. It's cloudy, it's overcast, so it's a dark night, and that means the perfect conditions for a leopard to hunt in, and so I wish her the best. Unfortunately, though, I can't move around in any of that stuff, and all I'm doing is going to inhibit her ability to catch food if I do, because at the end of the day, when we're moving around in places like this at night, I can't see very far at all. So I don't have a situation where I can see like I could during the day, and I can spot prey items from far afield and stop and give her the space she needs. So all I'm going to do is just ruin her hunt. I'm going to just chase animals left, right and center, because I have to keep her in much closer proximity than I would during the day, and that's only just going to lead to her not being able to hunt, and I don't want to do that at all. So I'm going to rather just let her carry on and move through it. So Aiden, who's 6 years old, wants to know if the leopard take baths. Aiden, they bath themselves in that they will lick themselves. So they have a very interesting tongue. They've got a tongue that's got little hooks on it, much like a brush, and that with their saliva means that they can lick and they can get rid of all the dust and the dirt and the hair and everything else that is loose, and keep their coats very, very clean and as though they've had a bath. But cats actually don't really like water, so you won't find them going in swimming in water very often. And it's only if they have to get across a river to the other side for some reason, or if they've got to hunt something and they fall into the water, then they sometimes that will happen. But they don't like it, so they wouldn't want to bath, but they will clean themselves, and it's like a bath for them, and they use their tongues to clean themselves, and those little hooks grab all the dirt and dust and loose fur and make sure that they stay nice and clean. So it's a very clever system for a cat, and they do it very well, and that's why lion and leopards and cheetah and will spend a lot of time grooming themselves and cleaning themselves and licking their coats to try and keep themselves as clean as possible. Right, so we're going to slowly meander our way home now. It's not too far. So Megan, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you there. You just broke up a little bit. I bumped my earpiece out. Ah, that's wonderful news. So Valerie, who's one of our moderators, apparently it is your birthday today. Happy birthday, Valerie. I hope you have a wonderful day and that you enjoy the day further. I'm not sure what time zone you're in and whether or not you've had a good day so far, but either way, either you must have a really great day, or I hope you've had a great day and that you enjoy your birthday as much as possible. So that's good. And Kimmy, you want me to say something in Afrikaans. Oh goodness, my Afrikaans is terrible. It is not very good at all, but we can say maybe veels geluk liewe maatjie, omdat dit is jou verjaarsdag. There we go. So that is happy birthday, my friend. It is because it is your birthday today. So there we go. That is my bit of Afrikaans. Of course, it's not very good, and there's probably some Afrikaans people that are watching that are probably laughing at this. And it's actually quite funny that I can hear Afrikaans and I can understand Afrikaans very well. My dad is fluent, and so was my grandfather, so I can understand it. People can speak to me in Afrikaans, no problem, but me speaking it is not very good at all. And it's all a bit of a laugh, and I can hear Megan is absolutely cackling in my ear at the moment as she laughs at me. It's fine. I will get her onto screen at some point and doing it herself. But that's all we've got time for. So from Jamie, Tayla, myself, Senzo, Megan and Lou, it's been a pleasure. We'll see you